Hi, team. I'm TJ Banasik, and I'm the product manager for Google Distributed Cloud Sandbox. Today's presentation is on getting started. For the agenda, we'll roll through the introduction for covering what is Google Distributed Cloud, touch on GDC Sandbox and how it fits in that equation. We'll then get started with the product as far as initial access and unboxing. We'll work our way into a common set of critical user journeys, including managing identity and access, creating virtual machines, container workloads, monitoring metrics and logs for performance, managing databases and storage, and finally, positioning you as an end user to deploy a generative AI application. Google Distributed Cloud provides an industry-leading solution that provides cloud infrastructure and services that run in your data centers and edge locations. We have options for fully air-gapped as well as connected. We include fully managed integrated set of services and suites, including hardware, software, and open components. We have flexible operations models that can be operated by any partner or Google in single and multi-site models. We start small and scale to hundreds of racks. GDC Sandbox is a cloud-based offering and a managed emulator of the Google Distributed Cloud air-gapped and appliance experience. The GDC experience is offering a cost-effective and accelerated generative AI development platform for solutions like Gemini. It's cost-effective because it allows you to learn and experiment before making your Google Distributed Cloud investments in physical systems. It increases your speed to value, removing the need to worry about the provisioning, configuration, and management. It also provides ease of use with a familiar interface via API, CLI, and UI of the GDC experience. The product vision of GDC Sandbox is grounded in 6 user persona tenets. The first and foremost is generative AI development. This provides a cost-effective platform for developing and testing your generative AI models on the commercial or low side of the internet, minimizing the risk of exposing sensitive data, allowing you to build and deploy CI/CD pipelines into your production environments. It's an onboarding enabler. So if you are a new GDC customer or partner, it is allowing you to get your hands on the experience. I like to use the car dealership metaphor when describing this. I'm not going to go into a car dealership and purchase it based on a brochure. For that car, I want to have a look at it. I want to open the doors. I want to walk around. I want to take it for a test drive and ensure that it meets my needs. That's really what GDC Sandbox does for you within the GDC portfolio. It allows you to demonstrate the applications that you build to your organization, to your department, to your end customers. It allows you to do a proof of concept. So if you want that test drive to deploy your own applications, ensure that they meet your requirements before you work your way into our partner portfolio or customer suite, you do that. Training lab. GDC Sandbox is the first time that you'll see the GDC product in demonstrations. In any training that you attend, you will be doing your virtual exercises and labs on GDC Sandbox. And the first time you put your hands to keyboard on our products, very much more likely so that you'll be in GDC Sandbox. Lastly, we enable our partner portfolio. Partners often don't invest in GDC air-gapped physical systems as much as application development, service integration, consulting, training, development. And GDC Sandbox provides an outstanding playground for those pursuits. The product offering includes a basic and an AI optimized SKU depending on your preference. The basic SKU provides the developer experience of Google Distributed Cloud in our air-gapped and appliance offerings. It includes the command line interface, the user interface, as well as the APIs. You also have all the core services of GDC air-gapped to include virtual machines, Kubernetes containers, observability, object and persistent block storage, and database servicing such as PostgreSQL. Our AI optimized SKU uses the basic SKU and builds upon it with Gemini APIs, which are enabled via Google AI Studio account, as well as the Vertex AI APIs, so artificial intelligence enabling speech to text, optical character recognition, translation, as well as 4 onboard GPUs, which are dedicated. The specifications for the user space, as far as your usable resources within the emulator, are detailed on the top right. Limitations, these are to the emulator only and not the GDC larger product portfolio. Within the emulator, we are emulating the product within a small scale. One organization, two user clusters, 25 users recommended as a soft limit for mainly usage of resources. It's non persistent, it lives for 30 days before being refreshed. We highly encourage a synchronization with a source code repository that's really building on your CI CD pipeline stories. As you rapidly are deploying applications, the environment is more of a cattle than a pet. It's rebuilt every 30 days with the latest updates, and it's blown away and redeployed. And so, what that ensures is you aren't using any sensitive data or production data, that you're continually rebuilding that environment as an emulator and really as a playground. This is the product architecture in a broad stroke. To access GDC Sandbox, you start on your local machine. You install the G Cloud command line, fire off a command that accesses the environment via RDP. You open up your client and you land on what we call the gateway experience there in the middle. This is a Linux user machine. That is your surface area. Behind the scenes and under the covers is the emulation. So we run this on 18 fully dedicated Google Cloud GCE VMs. If you subscribe to the AI optimized model, you also have an attachment for your GPU based capability. Now we're going to work our way through the use case journey. We start with getting started. And what you'll see in the structure of this presentation is all of the processes that we're going to go through are going to be documented on the left as far as our product pages, an overview of our documentation, any caution points that are signposted with the exclamation, and our demos, which is the structure of the video that you see autoplaying in the top right. And so, for getting started, we recommend that you go to our product page to start your journey. You'll see that the link below is at the bottom of the screen in case you do need that for access. We encourage you to read through the product overview and documentation to understand all the ins and outs and niches of that product. The release notes show everything that we put in every version. We are rolling new versions monthly, and so you'll see a lot of best in breed features coming. If you have interest, we'd love to meet with your team and review our roadmap in more detail and really hear more about your needs and what we can do to make GDC Sandbox better for your requirements. The demonstration here is an overview of the product. And so you'll notice that our YouTube presentation on the product is up in the top right. Definitely encourage you to go there. That's a 15-minute overview of the product. Very good for sharing with your stakeholders to understand what the product is and how you can use it. Next, we'll touch on starting the instance. And so the prerequisite for this is you've onboarded to GDC Sandbox. You've provided your Google account and your Google group during the contracting procedures. You start the instance and install the GD Cloud command line interface, as you see rolling on the top right. You access your documentation. We do have recommended prerequisite training. So if you are new to Kubernetes, check out our Learn Kubernetes with Google. It's a very well-rounded introduction into using Kubernetes, which is the foundation of Google Distributed Cloud. So definitely very important in your journey. So next, let's go into the demonstration. And so in this demo that you just saw, we're going to touch on starting the instance, running the GD Cloud command line interface, and accessing the GDC Sandbox UI. Next, we'll move into the sign in user journey. So here we first set up, and so we access the documentation for sign in and setting up the platform administrator account. We touch on the homepage. So one of the pro tips is to add our UI to the browser. So anytime you access your gateway VM, it'll automatically refresh with your UI. Or if you have developer preferences on accessing other parts of the product, Grafana for observability, Harbor for image repository, you have the ability to set your preference there. Next, we go into creating projects. And so steps are creating a project, adding your access onto that project, and adding more users. And so in our demo scenario, we touch on sign in, setting up the platform admin account, creating the project. Let's go into the walkthrough for more details. The next user journey is managing identity and access. And so we'll start with our identity provider. We call it fake OIDC provider. And so we don't join to production systems by default because this is an emulator environment. And so fake OIDC basically provides your landing point to pick and select the users that you've created and walk through their access procedures. In the documentation reads, you want to review accessing the admin cluster, reviewing the cluster architecture, and understanding the roles and permissions. For recommended training, we do again recommend that you look at Kubernetes Essentials by Google into the IAM portions of that training, which will be very helpful in wrapping your head around how Kubernetes identity and access management works. For the demo scenario that we're walking through here in the video, we're looking at creating a user account, creating roles, and creating the role bindings. Let's go ahead and jump into the walkthrough. The next user journey is creating virtual machines. We'll start with deploying a VM workload. In our documentation that's seated under create and start a VM, we'll review the documentation for that, not only the deployment, but also the documentation for what that entails. And so for tips, we have the ability to create this from a command line interface. from an API or from the user interface. So if you're interested in looking at more of the vehicles to interact with our product, definitely dive into those areas and tips. And so for the demo, we're going to create a virtual machine. Let's jump into the walkthrough. Next, we'll review the user journey for container workloads. In GDC Sandbox, the clusters are pre-created for you to control the size of the emulator and the usage of it. So, pro tip, don't add or remove the dedicated clusters that you have. If you're operating within the basic SKU, you'll see two of them. If you're operating within the AI optimized SKU, you'll see a third for the GPU user journey. In the documentation, do review the deploy a container application as well as creating the Harbor registry to where you'll store your images for the container operations. Prerequisite training, we recommend you look at the application developer guide for interacting with Kubernetes and hosting container based workloads. In our demo scenario, we're going to walk through importing a container and then creating a Harbor registry so you can host that for your Kubernetes applications. Let's jump into the walkthrough. The next user journey is monitoring metrics and logs. In GDC, we do this on Grafana, which provides the aggregation of the GDC logs and metrics platform. So our documentation is far and wide for this. A lot of areas that you should review because really logging in metrics is really at your interest, needs, and requirements. And so you want to review monitoring the log metrics, collection of them, the query and view, how to collect operational logs, how to query them, and also creating alerting and monitoring rules. And so in our demo, we're going to review accessing Grafana from the UI on our gateway virtual machine. And we're also going to look at viewing the logs and metrics. Let's jump into the user journey and the walkthrough. We've landed on the call to action. The 3 steps that you should follow next are discussing your generative AI development needs with our GDC team, reviewing the product capabilities at GDC documentation, and then learning more about Sandbox on our product page. Thank you so much for the time you took to watch today. We really appreciate your support and usage of our product. We really look forward to enabling Sandbox to be your gateway to the GDC portfolio.